word out that there is a recording of tonight's event, okay? So, without further ado, now the moment that you've all been waiting for, okay? I've already welcomed you. I've talked to you about our sponsors and I've talked to you about our participants, but we're here to support Mr. J.J. Koch, who is our commissioner, the man himself in the flesh. And so it's my pleasure because this is my boss, okay? This is who I work for. And he equips me and my team to do what we do for the community. So I want to acknowledge him. He's going to be the next voice you hear, all right?
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Well, I work for the people, so that's how it goes around, right? So eventually you're all our bosses. So I want to, again, thank Criswell College. Tremendous space, really, really nice space, and couldn't be held any place better. So many of you know the mission of the Office of Small Business Enterprise is to ensure that we have very significant involvement, and I mean that, very significant involvement, getting qualified SBEs into county's procurement of goods and services, right? And that includes commodities, that includes equipment, construction, you name it. That mission is very important to Dallas County, and that mission is very important to me. MWBE and SBE programs have proven for years, right? This is not something new to most government agencies, that we, can get the stuff we need, the good stuff that we need from a whole lot of folks. And, it's our duty to the taxpayer to make sure that we're getting things for the right price and the right quality. But there's nothing better than also being able to accomplish that additional higher achievement of making sure that we're building a more robust economy, we're building a fair society, we're building a real meritocracy. And that's why I absolutely am very excited about Mr. Crawford coming on, and I'll get to a little bit more about why he's so special. But we've seen that start to play out over time. So our MWBE program started in 1986. In 2015, we made a shift because there was only limited success. So we did a disparity study. Then in 17, the new SBE program was created and then implemented in 18. And the funny thing is, when I came into office in 2019, I felt as though that I was begging, literally begging small businesses, minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses to work with us. Because what was happening was essentially people were so busy, they were, as they say in the industry, smooth covered up, and did not have the time to fool with Dallas County, the application process, and some of them because of either legacy misconceptions or proper conceptions, maybe it wasn't the best deal to work with Dallas County. So, my pitch to them was always, hey, a recession is coming someday. And it would be a good business insurance to make sure you work with Dallas County. Because when that time comes, we are still paying. When that time comes, we are still working. And I still have that pitch for you, right? But I'd be a very poor salesman if I just stuck with the one pitch. So I have another pitch that I've been working on, and hopefully it resonates with some folks here tonight. I not only need you to take care of yourself, but I need you to help take care of Dallas County. Because right now, when we look at our SBE numbers, they have not been what we've wanted. It is a refrain that we hear often at Commissioner's Court, usually led by Commissioner Price, but I'm one that's willing to parrot this as well. We need more great businesses being involved and showing the path that can be trod, right? Because there's a lot of small businesses that will open here in the next week, here in the next month, here in the next year. And when they see Dallas County as a great partner and a great place to work with, right, they're going to have that shot of not only that piece of insurance, but we're going to be held to something that's special, right? People will recognize Dallas County as where we're building a robust economy for everyone and building that real meritocracy where, there's no good old boy system. There's everyone gets the thing done. So helping us make that vision a reality, because it's been slow going the last couple of years with our SBE. Mr. Jesse Crawford came on as our new director of the SBE quite recently and has proven his background in private sector working with supplier inclusion, supply chain management, strategic sourcing, and procurement, entrepreneurship, and community engagement. So he's talked to everyone and got everyone in the door. And that's what we really need him to do. So for over 20 years, he's had experience working in diversity and with Fortune 100 companies, public utilities, government entities, and tons of small businesses. So, and this is the thing that stuck out most when we first talked, and then the second interview around. He absolutely has a passion for getting things done the right way, and always showing and proving that, listen, you hold yourself to the highest ethical standards, and people are gonna, you may not do the deal that first time around, but they're gonna come back to you because they know that you're someone that they want to work with. So I am very proud that he is leading this initiative. I'm very proud that he's here in Dallas County. He is a proud Texan and a proud father of two awesome kids. Mr. Jesse Crawford.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Always try to live up to be the man that my dog thinks I am, right? So, but yeah, all right, thank you. So we have an agenda here. I'm just gonna go over, you have it in your programs out there, but we're gonna pretty much stick to it. So we've had our welcome and we had our invocation, and our opening remarks from the commissioner. So next we're gonna do a SBE overview, which is my group and area. And then after that, I'm gonna have my peer, as well as my Siamese twin, Mr. Michael Frost, come up, because purchasing an SBE, or what we call supplier diversity, in general, they have to be aligned in order to be successful. There's no question. And then you also have to have that commitment at the top, which is what you heard the commissioner talk about. We don't have to upsell it. It starts right at the top. We embody those. How you doing? And the other piece that is really clear to me, as he mentioned, I've been doing this for quite some time. It's very simply this. We need our supply chain to mirror our employee base, which should also mirror our community. Go figure. It works hand in hand. There's no smoke and mirrors to that. That's simply what you're trying to do. And I love to share this analogy. Even nature understands the value of diversity. How many species of butterflies are out there? Trees, fruit. If we only had apples to eat, would that be fun? They're great, but diversity makes sense, okay? So with that, I'm not gonna preach. I'll put away the pulpit right here, because I could go on about that one. As Shakespeare said, there's sermons and rocks. So let's get started. All right, so let's talk about, I'm the leader of the program, but more importantly, these are the folks that help me achieve my goals each and every day on behalf of the county. So I have a small team, but as they say, there's big things come in small packages, right? So I have in the room today, Miss Lasagna Allen. Lasagna, can you wave to everyone? She's my outreach manager, okay? I also have two vacant positions. One is for a compliance officer role, which I'm interviewing right now as we speak, and hoping to fill that over the next 15, 20 days, okay? And then I also have another outreach officer position available. All right, thank you. I like to see. Testing. Oh, hello. I'm back, man. All right. So I like to move around, guys. I don't like sitting around podiums. Okay, so forgive me. You don't have to swivel. I just like moving. Also, I have a program specialist by the name of Rosa Rodriguez, who works on my team as well. So I want to acknowledge that team. As the commissioner shared with you, our mission is pretty clear, to create a level playing field so the businesses can compete fairly. There's no surprise to that. There's no science. You have to have a level playing field for those suppliers to have a seat at the table. But more importantly, I say win. I don't like participation trophies. When I coached football, when I played it, I didn't like those. I like to win, okay? So that's my mission, is to ensure that we're utilizing eligible small businesses, okay? Also, we want to increase the number of contracts. I love that particular goal right there. That's hard fact. We also want to ensure that there's non-discrimination throughout our processes, and working alongside our administrators, the various departments who, as I shared earlier, they're not our stakeholders, they're our success holders. So I mentioned Ms. Alberta Blair. She's one of my success holders, okay, in public works, but also serves as a liaison. And so it is important that my team and I provide an education, we provide training opportunities, and we ensure that you are primed for success. We're advocates. It's almost like being an attendant in a movie theater. And I'm going way back. So some of you young folks may say attendance. I'm like, yeah, back in the day, there was people assigned in a movie theater, okay, to escort you to your seats, right? Well, as a supplier diversity professional, if you're coming into our house, which is Dallas County, you don't know where to go, how to navigate, we need to help you, right? We need to be a resource. So our support, again, you can see it here on the screen. We have the Commissioners Court. Each one of them believes in the program. They embody the program. And more importantly, they empower me to do what it takes to ensure that goal is achieved. We also have the executive leadership. I mentioned Ms. Blair. There's others in our executive leadership that work with us very closely day in and day out. And then obviously I have a small business advocacy council, which is made up of not only business leaders in the community, there's also executives from other entities who serve on our board. And they help me come up with ideas, come up with approaches and initiatives to ensure that we're hitting the mark. So that's that third objective part that I need. And then we have our certification advocacy partners, and you're going to hear from them in the presentation. So, and then lastly, we have the business community, which is each one of you. So I mentioned the advocacy partners. So to conduct business with Dallas County, you don't have to be certified, but in order for me to capture your spend and get credit for that, I need you to be certified. Okay, that's a table stake. So we have 3 recognized agencies that we utilize. One is the Dallas-Fort Worth Minority Supplier Development Council, led by Ms. Margot Posey. Okay, and then we also have the NCTRCA, and I mentioned they have a new leader named Mr. Sherman Powers. You're going to hear from him. Okay, and then we have the Women's Business Council, Southwest, and they have a new leader named Bliss Coulter. I'm going to say Coulter. Yeah, Coulter. Okay, she just started, and she is dynamic. Debbie Hurst was the previous president.
24 years.
24 years, okay, who we all know and love. But she just recently retired, and I can tell you they're in able hands because I served on their senior advisory council. That's hard to come out senior advisor, you know. I finally lived long enough to be a senior advisor somewhere, right? But anyway, this is a great council to work for. So they're part of our three-headed approach for certification as a small business enterprise. Okay. Next, let me back up. I would be remiss if I didn't say, you also have to have a local presence in what we call our metropolitan statistical area. So Dallas, Tarrant, Denton, and Collin are the counties. And I'm biased because I'm a North Texan, so I think they're the best, right? And I've lived in all of them, so, all right. So next, I want to talk about compliance. That's that old word, right, Mike? You always have to have compliance. So we have a tracking system in the county that we utilize, and we're not alone. It is an industry standard, and it's called B2G now. And with that particular system, for all intents and purposes, it is a compliance system. So our primes who earn business with us are required to go in and enter the spend or submit the payments that they have made to the subcontractors that they have identified in their good faith effort plans and their utilization plans as well. Okay, so there's a check and balance, right? And then the subcontractors have to verify that they were actually paid or received the amounts that were owed. Okay, so that's where the compliance officer position that I mentioned earlier is critical, because we have to verify. You inspect what you expect, right? Great. So next, we're going to talk about best practices. And this I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because the real meat of our presentation, and I told you, as I shared it earlier, our goal is to give you information that you can take home and package, reformat, so that you'll have increase your opportunities for success. So we want to give you some action and feedback. But I want to talk about what I need for my program in order to be successful. So first, I have to have involvement and I have to have information. So internal to the county, that's why those relationships are so important with the internal stakeholders, or as I call them, success holders. Because when they have purchasing needs, I need to be aware of what they're looking for, what they need in order to accomplish their goals each and every day. Whether it's juvenile, right? Whether it's the tax office, whoever. I need to understand their business. That's where my background in strategic sourcing helps me. Because I get down and I look at the scope of work, but I need to dig into it. I need to understand who's out there in the market to help us achieve those goals. What are the price points? So information is critical. Then we have consulting and communication. So I'm not just a paper pusher. My team doesn't simply supply vendor lists and step away. We need to be consultants in some cases with the internal clients to understand the value of the supplier framework, in this case, the SBE. All right. And then here's my favorite one, accountability and engagement. We have to be engaged. Supplier diversity is a contact sport. You can't do it sitting at your desk looking at reports all day, right? It's a contact sport. You have to go out and talk to people because sometimes there's what is known as unconscious bias within supply chains. That's a little secret that not too many people talk about. But when I was in the consulting world, that's what I did. Okay, so unconscious bias, you have to speak to people and understand what's your barrier, what's your challenge with utilizing a small or diverse business. And you hear the gamut. They're too small, not enough resources, right? Quality issues. I love to say this. Every business in America started out as a small business. I worked for Federal Express. Fred Smith started out in his garage. Okay? Nike, Phil Knight, started out with a waffle maker, okay, to make tennis. And it goes on and on. So everybody starts off being small. So if you come to me with those excuses, you're talking to the wrong person. Okay? And as a side note, my goal is to find the next Microsoft in the small and diverse ranks. So before I close my eyes on this earth, I hope to find a company that is at that level where we can say they started out with 2 employees and now they're a behemoth. Okay? That's just me. It's just some insight. Then we look at collaboration and partnership with purchasing. Again, I mentioned we're Siamese twins. I have to be aligned with the goals, with the vehicles. And when I say vehicles, whether it's IFB, RFP, RFQ, we have to be aligned with it to support and understand what is our goal. Are we looking for cost savings? Are we looking for efficiencies? What are we looking to solve for the business? Okay? Because I like sustainable businesses. How many of you guys in the audience and on the phone, on the line likes to be sustainable? Nobody wants to be a one-hit wonder and say, yeah, I had that one contract with the county. That one. Yeah, I worked with you guys back in the 80s. Really? It's 2022. Come on. So that's the key. And then lastly, there has to be transparency and technical assistance. So we're committed to that as a group. And that's why we're here today. So I really want to get to I can't wait for my peer to get up here because Mike has really good information he's going to share. And I want to touch on this. So from my perch, from my experience levels, on in, have a seat. From my experience, here's some best practices and approaches that I've seen. Okay. First and foremost, SB participation and utilization. If you're going to bid with us, you need to have a commitment. And it can't be an arbitrary, I'm going to submit a couple of names to see if I can get to the next level or win this thing, but I have no intention of utilizing them. It has to be real, okay? And I put up there 15 points because when we score the bid proposals, we mean an SBE, we're talking 15 points, okay? Every point matters. And we have some great examples later on, and you're going to understand that clearly. I don't want to spoil it for my peer here. So next, business plans. If you fail to plan, what's the rest of it? So you have to, as a business owner, and the thing that makes me a unicorn, I've served at 3 stations in my career. I've been a supplier diversity leader of a program. I've also sat in strategic sourcing and procurement and led those contracts, negotiated, and led a group of contract managers, onshore and offshore. But guess what? I was also a business owner. So I've walked in those shoes. I've sat at each station at that table, and I've heard everything. I've heard to go register on our website. Don't call us, we'll call you. Right? Does that sound familiar to anybody out there? I finally experienced that myself, and it was a shocker because I've seen programs that talk and tout their commitment. But I asked, where's the be? Okay. Also, you have to have a strong marketing plan, right? You can't boil the ocean. If you don't have the capacity, be honest with yourself. Market to those businesses or entities where you can have some success. You may have to go to subcontractor, but market yourself accordingly. I'm not going to go in there and say, hey, man, I can lift 2,000 pounds. Don't y'all laugh too hard. Y'all don't know if I can do that or not. All right? Be honest with yourself. If you don't have it, you don't have it. But be able to market your strengths. You have to have positive cash flow, right? I mean, what happens in those lean times when those payments, those accounts receivables are off? You still have to pay somebody, right? People aren't going to wait around. The credits aren't going to wait around, right? So you have to have positive cash flow for everything. It's about materials, right? To keep that ship moving. And then conduct competitor analysis. That is a key. I'll oftentimes ask people, do you know who your competitors are? When I worked for a little small company, telephone company that y'all might have heard of called Verizon, we knew who our competitors were every day. I bet Coca-Cola knows who their competitors are, right? So you should conduct competitor analysis to understand, because if you position yourself with us, I want to know, are you ranked 10 out of 20 in the market? Are you in the top 5? And why? Be able to answer those questions. And then the last two, one is clear. You have to have a clear customer value proposition. So I like to tell my suppliers to include testimonials, awards. If you've written some white papers, plug them. Because guess what? That bid proposal team needs to understand what's your differentiator. What separates you from the myriad of companies that are coming to us every day? How do you stand out? I'm LEED certified. I'm ISO certified. Whatever the case may be, let us know. And then leverage those competitive advantages to your strength. Okay, it is to your advantage to be not only competitive, but talk about it. Don't be ashamed. And then lastly, and I know Mike loves this, submit a complete best and final. You cannot submit a partial proposal and expect to get reap the benefits. If we ask you for 20 documents, we need all 20, right? So that's to me, these are pretty much simple, and surely you haven't heard those before, but I'm articulating to you, having sat in those pre-stations, how important they are, because I've experienced that. Writing proposals is a skill within itself, right? You have your legal hat on, you have your financial hat on, you have your operations hat on when you're filling those things, and then you have your marketing hat. How many CEOs can wear all of those? Not many, if we're honest. So having resources, having the ability to interact with people like us, we're here to ensure your success. We want you to be successful. All right. So I'm going to wrap up here. Come on, battery. You help me out, Avi? So this I'm at the end of my presentation here. So we're going to have a little Q&A section at the very end. So I want you to hold those. But we have our following SBE link that I mentioned earlier. Go out to our Dallas County website, go to departments, and you will see small business enterprise. Okay. And we have all of our information out there. We actually list bids out there as well as vendor lists. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my buddy, Mr. Mike Frosch. Here you go, sir. Need this?
Yeah, I don't have the best eyes like you. And that little screen is a little far for me. Thank you very much, Jesse. And, okay.
Let's see.
Hi, I'm Mike Frost, Director of Procurement. I was one of the advocates for Mr. Crawford. When the position came up for the SBE Director, I went to the elected officials, I'll say it. I went to the administration, and I was looking for someone to come in that could help us move this program forward. So, you know, he says Siamese twins. I thought when he wanted to go to lunch with me, he was there because he wanted to talk to me. No, he wanted to talk about bids and proposals. Like, man, I don't want to talk about this. Let's go eat lunch, right? Let's talk about that in the office. But on a serious note, I'm very happy to work with Mr. Crawford, and what he brings to the table is something that Dallas County needed very, 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 very much. So thank you very much, Jesse, and I look forward to working with you on all of our initiatives. Maybe. All right, maybe, there we go. Okay, so we spend a lot of money. Let's just be clear. In Dallas County, we spend a lot of money. One of my responsibilities, to take it very seriously, is to make sure, as we're all taxpayers, is that we spend that money wisely, right? We want to make sure that we have a fiduciary responsibility. We want to be competitive. We want to be open. We want to have opportunity for small businesses. But at the end of the day, we're spending government money, and there's a lot of bureaucracy that goes with it. So when we go in sessions like this, part of it is to make you understand what the bureaucracy is, what it's not, and then so you can understand how to compete and navigate through all of these type of events. So at the end of the day, you know, our job is to have inclusion, but we want to make sure that it's the right inclusion, as Mr. Crawford says. We will put you out of business. You know, I'll say that again. We'll put you out of business. If you say you can do it, we award a contract for you. You don't have your finances in order. You can understand what net 30 means, because we will not pay you next day. We get calls sometimes saying we had a delivery of a large order and we need to get paid. Well, it doesn't work that way. You have to understand all of that. So part of this education is to make sure you understand exactly what you're getting yourself into so you can be successful, so you can leverage those partnerships, making sure you're really ready when you get into the business. I always encourage people before we get into this to do small stuff with the county first, or any agency. Get in and do the small, quick turn type purchases if you can, because those are readily available. They're usually awarded within 7 to 10 days. You don't have to wait months to figure out if you're going to be successful. You can get in, get out. We pay quickly in those situations, and it's not a long-term engagement for you. You can get an idea at that point with the payment cycles like within the organization, what's required, what's necessary on small dollar items before you get into a large contract. All right. So how many of y'all have done business with a public agency? Raise your hands. Okay, perfect. About half the room. Good. There's a lot of slides that Mr. Crawford mentioned. We're not going to go into a lot of the, I say, boring, mundane, how you do business with Dallas County. It's going to be more of an informational session. So there's an appendix that has a lot of that information that's going to be on this attachment. You can look at that as how to register with the county, things that are important, but things that you're probably better off reading at your leisure. But one thing I want to talk about is, you know, what we buy. People ask all the time, what does the county buy? Well, it's easy to say what the county does not purchase, right? We're a large county. We got 6,000 employees. Pretty much anything you can think of in the service, we probably are buying it in some form or fashion. We have huge departments. You know, the sheriff's department is one of our largest customers. They have the jail, which is one of the largest jails in the country. I'm sorry. We have Health and Human Services, you know, big departments that do a lot. Public Works is here today. They do a lot of construction. They do a lot of construction and renovation projects. Facilities does the same thing. They do a lot of work with sister cities, right? They work with a lot of partner cities. So there's a lot of opportunities to do business with Dallas County in basically any scope that you can think of. So when you're thinking about the county, I worked for the city of Dallas for 33 years. And honestly, I didn't even think what the county services were being provided. I had no idea, quite frankly. When I came over 2 streets over, it's the same. I say the same thing, different address. It's the same type of process. Still got to follow all the statutes. And that's one thing I wanted to make sure you understood is the differences between a public agency and a private company. Here it is, big differences. My folks put big font for me. So when you deal with a private company, as we all know, you know, they don't have the regulatory requirements to spend their dollars. They have some policies internally. They may have a little bit of, they have a board they have to report to, but they don't have federal statutes, state statutes that say what you do and how you do it. So I'm not here to preach about that. I'm just saying that's the reality dealing with public agency. You have to be aware of that. And that's why you have to read all the documents very carefully, and we have to follow those processes. Relationships, I say they don't really provide an advantage, because at the end of the day, you may know a lot of people in the organization, may know elected officials, very nice people. I like them. They support me. They're very important. You may know the administrator, you may know me, you may know Mr. Crawford, but at the end of the day, when we're doing an evaluation, we got to follow the processes that are outlined by law. All right, so don't forget that, because a lot of people, they come see me usually and they're not happy because they didn't win a bid, or they thought they should have been ranked higher on a proposal. And when you do a debrief, a lot of the times it's things that they should have said in writing that they thought somebody knew, right? Thought somebody knew, you know who I am. Well, I know who you are, but people evaluate and you had no idea who you are. And you have to demonstrate that in writing, right? Payment terms, I mentioned that a while ago. The private sector, they're negotiable. Dallas County, they're not. They're net 30. You'll be paid 30 days, and we will hold those all the way to the 30th day because it benefits us. We do. System does it. It's a system-generated check. It's not me. It's not the process. It'll hold that to the last day, and it'll send it out. So those are things you have to know if you want to do business with public agencies, is have your cash flow. You understand that. Gifts, tickets, much as I like to go to a soccer event or a football event, you can do that in the private sector. Public agencies, you can't. There's laws against that. And that's something that we all have to know as we get into this arena. And then communications, I tell all my staff when they get hired in the procurement area, I said, well, the first thing you got to know is everything you say can and will be used against you. In writing, verbally, if they send in something to us and you send a proposal and say, I want to protect that. Well, you're not going to protect it, I can promise you. Someone's going to ask for it if you're successful. So it's just part of it, but you use that to your advantage. I'm telling you this because this is supposed to be to help you. If you know that everything that comes into my office is releasable, and you're in the business and want to be in my business doing landscaping, you probably want to know what the cost is, right? Those are important. So that stuff is available to you. You don't have to do a Freedom of Information Act. I will tell you. You ask me for the tab sheet, I'll say, here it is. Here's the current contract. Because there's no reason to hide it. I want you to know that because I want them to be competitive, right? Does that make sense? All right. No one asked for that stuff, so I hope you do. All right. I have the same personality Mr. Crawford has, so. All right, well, my slide will move. Abanash. Okay, we're a centralized procurement department. What that means to you is that everything comes through my office. Why that's important to you? Because if it was not centralized, you'd have to go figure out inside the departments who to talk to. Trying to make it easy to do business with Dallas County. We're a large county, we got a lot of offices, a lot of departments, and they're all busy doing what they do on a day-to-day basis. But consolidating all of that together in a business model is a good thing because it consolidates, aggregation drives down costs, we all know this. And more importantly, it's a central point of institutional knowledge. We know best practices, we know how to procure stuff. The departments really don't need to know that, they need to know what they want. My job is to tell them how to go out and navigate through all the legalities and then defend it to our court. So this is my last slide, and then we'll get into something that's more important. How we do business, right? We talk about informal. There's state law with your city, government, county, it doesn't matter. 50,000 and below. We call that informal. There's different processes. I'm not going to go into that, but that's an informal process. If you look on any of our websites, it'll say informal. That means you're going to be awarded probably in 7 to 10 days. That's where you can go in, find something. If you deliver that good or service, you can get in, get out pretty quick, understand it, and move on. If it's formal, it's over $50,000 in almost every area, county or city. So that's important because it's a more complicated process, but it's navigationable, but it takes 3 to 4 months usually. Just got to know that. And then we have RFPs, it's a proposal process. We want solutions to our problem, or we know there's more than one way to do it. A system, Oracle, SAP, PeopleSoft. There's multiple systems that do the same accounting, but we know they have differences and we want to go out and look at those. That's an example of an RFP, and qualifications are usually professional services, engineers, architects, attorneys, things of that nature. We do qualifications. Abanash, you gotta help me again. Okay, now the part that I think is important is know your margins. I talked about it earlier. We'll give you the tabulation of anything we're doing today, so you should be able to know this. You should know the margins of what you're doing. Be competitive. Mr. Crawford mentioned this. We didn't look at our slides, but I promise you, it's the same narrative. You gotta be competitive. People think they're gonna get rich in the government. You're not gonna get a home run, I promise you. You won't hit a home run. Because if you hit a home run on a contract because you're the only one that gave you something, my job is to review it, make sure it's reasonable, right? So just because you see limited players, you think you're gonna hit a home run, I'm looking at that to make sure that's a reasonable cost that came in before I take it forward to our board. So just know that, sometimes they realize that people think that the $100 hammer, as you hear about in the federal government, it doesn't happen. It's very rare. There's very few public procurement professionals, but they're all very, very educated. They know what they're doing. You should understand the terms. I say the benefits of a large organization is you get a large contract. So you see a 3-year contract, it's $10 million. Wow, that's a lot. It'll be incremental spend over 10 years. That's a good thing, right? I mean, you can have guaranteed business, as the commissioner says, during the recession. We're going to buy things regardless of the economy. We have to, right? So that's a good thing when you want to do business with the public agencies, but the margins are low, but you use that margin to gain space in the market. You use that for everything else you're going to buy or spend, right? So if you have a contract with us and negotiate that with a manufacturer for to be delivered, you should be using those terms to help you on other contracts. That's the benefit of getting a big government contract, is to help leverage that, right? And if you don't understand insurance and bonding, you're probably not going to be successful. You need to understand it. What we have done in the agency, we looked at all of our insurance requirements with all of our departments, and we've reduced anything we thought was outside the market. There's some things outside that we had that required, that really were outside of the industry standard, but we reduced all of that to try to make it easier to do business. But you still have requirements to have insurance, and then bonding requirements. That bonding is very important, and we reduced all bonds except for what's required by state law, because we didn't want to make that a barrier. Because we hear that everywhere, bonding and insurance is the big barrier. It's really not. You have to understand why you can't get bonding. You need to figure that out. You need to go talk to a surety, understand, look at your finances. It's really a credit issue. And that's where your joint ventures come in. If you see all of these big construction companies, you see Austin, Turner, a lot of big ones come together, you see these joint ventures. You think they really want to work together? They do sometimes, but really it comes down to, we created a legal business entity outside of our holding of Turner or Austin or whoever it may be, because they want to have additional bonding capacity. I don't want to take my bonding capacity from my business and use it all on one project, and I can make margins doing it myself, and they continue doing both of them, right? So they come together as joint venture legally, have a different bonding capacity outside of their current bonding capacity. That's how you gain market space, right? So understand that as part of the game. Please, Abana. I'm not going to talk about know your market competition, because Jesse did a great job of talking about that. Next slide, please. But cash flow, I talked about cash flow as well. Cash flow is one of the most important things. I've literally had vendors crying because they can't make payroll. I mean, that's unfortunately not in this organization, but in a prior organization. And you hear a lot about delayed payments. This organization in Dallas County pays their bills. I will say that we do that very, very well. Our auditor does a very good job of processing invoices timely, so it's really not an agency problem. A lot of times it's an invoicing problem. You don't reference the encumbrance. You send the invoice to another department. Inside a big organization, it may take 4 weeks to get that thing moved around. I can promise you that 4 weeks is going to be important to you, because those margins are very narrow. So just make sure you do that. and attend pre-bid meetings. Our meetings like this, networking. Pre-bid meetings were never conducted prior to my employment with Dallas County. I don't know why, but they didn't have any really activities where you could have a lot of discussion in a group about what you're going to procure. The idea is you should be asking a lot of questions in a pre-bid meeting because you need to understand what we're asking for, right? And more importantly, this is the one opportunity you can talk to the department, the client. They're on the call, they're in the room, and the people in the room are on the call. If they're on that call in the middle of the day, they're very interested in doing something with that, to bid on it, right? And you should take that as an opportunity to network B2B, right? We'll give you a list of everybody on that call with their contact information. So we're giving you the information. Now it's an opportunity for you to go use it, right? Even if you can't do the entire scope, you can do some part of the scope, and you're very good at that. And that's your niche. You should be reaching out to people on that list to say, if I happen to be a small business, great, right? If you're a small business certified, great, reach out. We have these goals that we want to attain, and they have to make an outreach. Why not outreach to you, right? So I say get in the game because a lot of times where we have a lot of meetings and we'll meet people and they're very nice people and you're very nice people, but I never see any action. I need you to participate. Can't win the race if you're not in the race, right? So I want you to get in the game. If you can't be a prime, that's okay. Don't be scared about being a subcontractor because that's how you grow your capacity. That's what it's all about. It's understanding where you are in your space, as Mr. Crawford is, and then finding that, know who's in your space. If you're not number one, where are you? And then figuring out how to grow that capacity. Try this again. Please. I got this. Now, see, this is the part I want to go to. Now we're going to pull back the curtains just a little bit on how we evaluate proposals. Everybody pretty much knows what low bid is. If I ask for an F-150 4x4 white, you're going to compare this price for an F-150 compared to this F-150, and if it's $20,000 and $22,000, by law we're going to award the $20,000 and we're going to move on. So I'm going to spend a lot of time on that. Of course, you got to meet the requirements and all that. So we're assuming we understand that. The proposals are really where it gets a little bit more complicated and where I've seen in my experience a lot of issues on your side of the house. So we're going to spend a lot of time with that. So in 2007, a little bit of a history lesson for you, state law did not allow agencies to use proposals for anything outside of insurance and technology. So it was pretty much a low bid environment. You had to go out and write specifications for every single thing, and you were in a low bid environment. It's not always what you really want. You really want to have other criteria sometimes to look at solutions. So there were some changes that allowed the agencies to use proposals to negotiate virtually any commodity. So part of my job as the purchasing director is to ensure we're not making it overly complicated for things that we really don't need to do an RFP on, where we can write good specifications. And then when we really think there's multiple ways to solve the problem, or if there's multiple solutions, or we don't even know what the problem, we have a problem, but we don't know how to solve it, that's when you want to do a proposal. Because there's more than one way to do it. We go out in the market, you tell us why you're so great, we look at it, we evaluate it. That's really what the proposal is about. Okay. So we're going to get into an exercise in a second, but one last thing on proposals we want to talk about is proposals are always, in our agency, they're evaluated by a team. No one person looks at anything. Why that's important is there's subjectivity in everything you read, everything I read. There's subjectivity in what you think it tastes good, what looks good. So when you're reviewing your proposals, you got to assume you have a wide variety of audience looking at it. And they don't know who you are, and they're going to look at this based on what you submit, right? So it's something that you really need to be clear and concise when you do responses, because they can only consider what they see in writing. If we do a presentation, what they hear from you. It's not what they read outside of that. It's simply what was submitted to them or what was exchanged in writing and in person that they can consider when they evaluate. So that's important. And don't expect, I hear this a lot, well, I thought we'd get another shot, so I gave you a proposal and we thought we'd negotiate. Well, no, don't assume you're going to get two shots. Give us your best first. right? Does that make sense? I hear it a lot, like, well, we thought we'd get in another agency, we had more than one chance. Why would you? You gave us a proposal that says the city of Addison on it. You didn't even give us any, you didn't even look at the document. You sent it in to us. You got the deadline, and then you didn't even do any type of work to look at our scope. So we're not gonna look at your proposal anymore. So don't assume you're gonna have more than one opportunity. So give us your best foot forward. Next slide. So now we're gonna go into a sample proposal evaluation. So this is where I'm gonna actually use a mic, I like to see it. Okay. Hello? All right, perfect. Perfect. So all of ours are gonna be a 100-point scale. So if you look at that, there's 100 points available. And we'll say here that when you buy, you're gonna put a new roof on your house. I think of this the same way. You're gonna look for somebody that has experience. Knows what they're gonna do. How do you do it? Do you know how to do it? Have you had experience? Have you ever put a roof on? Do you have a warranty? All the things you would ask for, right? So experience, you may see a little different nuance in the criteria, but they all come into these basic buckets. Approach, how are you gonna do it? What makes you so different than anybody else, right? What makes your firm better than the firm next to you when they come into the evaluation table, right? What makes you different? Do you have the white papers? Do you have some credentials? Do you have something, right? Is your team different than the team that's next to you? You have to understand that. You have to be able to document that, right? And then cost. Cost is always an element because obviously it's public dollars, but because everything in the proposal is negotiated, you usually see it around 20 or 25 points because you really want to make sure they have some idea what they're doing. They know how to do it and they have an approach that's reasonable, right? So cost is going to be an element. And then SBE is always part of our policy, is part of our evaluation. So you have 15 points in this scenario, 15 points for cost, your experience and your approach. So if I was going to hire a roofer, I'd say, okay, you have experience, great. Are you going to do an overlay of the shingles? Are you going to go down to the wood? How are you going to do it to make sure that we understand that we're comparing pricing, right? Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. Here we have company. That's the wrong slide. How about one more slide back? Next. There we go. So we have a large company in the IT space. So we have a large project. So they gave us a proposal for $850,000. We have 3 proposals. So we're like, okay, great. We got 3 proposals. One's $850,000, and they've told us they're not going to subcontract because they're a really, really large company. We self-perform everything because we're good. We don't need that. We don't need anybody else. So we gave them a list of all the opportunities. We gave them a list of subcontracting opportunities, and they still chose not to. That's their choice. They decided they're the best. They don't need to do that. So they got the 40 points because they are. They're very, very good. They're very skilled. They have a lot of experience. And their approach was top notch, their best practice. Their cost was a little high because they're a big company with a lot of overhead. So I'll show you later how that's factored. And then the SBE reviewed it and gave them 0. So in this scenario here, the biggest firm in the market, most qualified in their opinion, didn't want to use any subcontractor. So they got 82 points if you looked at their initial scores. Next slide, please. Company B. Company B. Back. Perfect. Company B, the second largest person in the space, they got 90% of the points available. So they got 36 points. Pretty good. They got 90% of the approach. They did a pretty good job. They were best in class as well. They decided to subcontract. They had 15 points. They met our goal. And the cost was exactly what the other company was because they're large. They're a huge firm, right? So they got 92 points. Perfect. Then company C, next slide. Company C, perfect. They're an emerging IT company. They had an $800,000 proposal, but they had a joint venture. They are going to use a partner because they needed to have more capacity. They didn't have the experience themselves. They brought a partner with them. So they're like, well, I brought a partner with me because I don't have 15 years experience, whatever the experience was. Their approach was good. Obviously, they got 90% of their approach. They got 27. Their cost was cheaper, so they got maximum points. And then their SBE, they brought a team that met our goal. So they had 77 points. In this scenario, go ahead, stay there. In this scenario, go back. They wanted to know why, they were being debriefed. They wanted to know why, how in the world when I brought a joint venture did I not score higher than 77? Okay, so in the debrief session, I pulled out their proposal and said, show me on what page you demonstrated your joint venture. Well, they didn't mention a joint venture at all. So they had a legal joint venture to compete for this project. They never mentioned the proposal because, as Mr. Crawford mentioned, writing proposals is an art, but attention to detail is the most important part. They didn't mention anything about their joint venture or about their additional capacity they gained by having the joint venture. So therefore, the people I said they were independent, don't know who they are, don't know anything about their business, or reading what they have, they scored it, and they scored them accordingly. They had half of the experience. So if they had had that listed, of course, if you look at how it played out here, they would have been 1 point higher than the other firm. So the two big giant firms, because they foregone, one of them foregone the SBE and said, I don't need it. It's not, I don't care. And then the other one actually brought it forward, but the smaller firm doing a legal joint venture failed to provide the information. So often folks are thinking, well, how can this happen? It happens every single day. Every single day. Every single day when you're doing evaluations, it's shocking when you see what's missed. Right? So it seems very simple looking at it. But when you're talking about $1 million project, you think that they would put more effort into something of this nature, right? But it happens every single day. Next slide, please. So I wanted to just show you, we don't ever talk about how we evaluate our price, but I want to show it to you anyway. It's very small, so I apologize. So in this case, we had 15 points of the 100 for price. And the points is simply a formula. So the lowest price vendor proposer that comes in always gets the maximum points. That's where you start. So in our system, we have a system that does this, so that they get the maximum points. Then everybody from there, you take the lowest cost divided by their cost times the points, right? So 800 divided by 850 times 15 is 14 points, right? So it's no science, it's not magical, but that's how it works. So if you're way off on your cost, it's hard to overcome, right? But the real thing that I wanted to touch on here, because we're talking about small businesses, is a lot of folks leave points in the 15-point bucket and they expect to overcome it. You're not that good. Most firms are not that good, right? So we have to pay attention to every criterion, make sure you're paying really close attention to your submittals. And if you have somebody working on that in the back office, you might want to pay attention if it's something significant to you, because we see errors all the time and we don't correct them. If it's a low bid by law, we can't correct them and you can't negotiate them. On proposals, we have a little more latitude and we would have probably corrected this. This is just an example of a scenario, but you don't assume you get a second bite of the apple, right? Next slide. Pretty sure that was my last slide. Okay, so that was somewhat beneficial to you. And Mr. Crawford, is it back to you? Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's it. All right, I'm back on deck here. I don't know about you guys, but my preacher would say, if that didn't shock you, I don't know what would. Okay? Because when Mike did this, he pulled back, again, the roof. He opened it and showed you exactly a walk in the life of a procurement professional. Okay? And talked about those challenges and those opportunities. And so, unabashedly as the SBE professional, I see 15 points left on the deck all the time. Okay? Like he said, it's 15 points, and you can't make those points up. You saw the way it's broken out. So, at least commit to utilize. It's not just in word only, it's in approach, And it's a commitment because there's an old saying, an old African proverb, each one teach one. So to whom much is given, that's the other thing. Much is expected, right? So as a prime, you're reaching back, helping those smaller businesses gain capacity, gain an opportunity. They're not going to put you out of business unless you fall asleep at the wheel, right? But even still, they have to build capacity, they have to build experience. So again, you're helping build those communities. You're reaching back and helping companies build their capacity, create jobs, increase the tax base. It's a beautiful thing when it works. So with that, like I said, Mike, thank you again for that presentation. Next we have what is called leveraging your certification. And in this portion of our presentation, you're going to hear from our partner agencies. Okay, so I shared earlier that we have 3 that are recognized by Dallas County, and all 3 of them are great partners for us. They're the reasons why we can actually track, report, and bring those competitive suppliers to the table. We rely on them. They have upfront screening processes, applications, but they also have programs. They also have events. So I don't want to steal their thunder because each one's going to present themselves, but I've served on the certification committee on 2 out of the 3, and I can tell you that it is a reputable process, and it is definitely a return on your investment. I know some people complain about the cost, but from my perch, again, I've said it 3 different stations, it pays for itself. So I'll stop there. So first up, I'm going to have Mr. Andrew Nash, who is with the Dallas-Fort Worth Minority Supplier Development Council. And so, Mr. Nash, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you.
All right, you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Sound great.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. Again, I apologize for not being able to be there in person. Again, certification, I'm Andrew Nash, Director of Operations with the Dallas-Fort Worth Minority Supplier Development Council. And you know about certification. There's a lot of certifications in the area, and we all that's on this panel represent the 3. But again, what I want to do today, again, you have to be 51% control to own an ethnic minority for our certification. There is a fee, but sometimes when people get certified, they ask, what now? What do we do? So again, what the council does, and once you're certified, we have an hour orientation or hour 15-minute orientation to introduce you to the council. But let me go back to something that quick that Mike had up on his slide, that 15 points. Last year, our corporations spent $6.7 billion with Dallas-Fort Worth Minority Supplier Development Council suppliers. Not overall spend, not their overall program, but just with the councils. And we verify those dollars by those that buy us. But what's important about being certified is that, you don't certify what you do, how you do it, and those things. Just certify that these companies and with the SBE certification, State of Texas Hub certification, as well as the MBE certification, that when these entities like Dallas County are using you, they have to count those dollars. And part of that counting dollars, making sure that those companies are who they say they are. But then we bring extra benefits, and I can almost take Mike's PowerPoint and go through it. We have different programs. We run an MBDA center. We run a CCR center. The council has programs going on. With the MBDA center, if you wanted to be 8A certified, you can go through the process for free. We partner with SBA. It goes 4 weeks, and I've had suppliers say, Andrew, I was getting ready to pay someone $5,000 to get me 8A certified. But by being a part of the council, we bring in SBA. They go line by line through the application to get you SBE certified for free. We have on the MBDA team Michael Garrett, who's not only helps with the financing, over 20 years in banking, but he helps with proposal. Mike talked about making sure your proposals are right, making sure you cross those T's and dot those I's, because again, when you're competing against other people, you want to make sure your stuff is right and you don't want to get thrown out. And we have folks in the MBDA center that we run, and you know how much that costs? That's free. So we have another team, our CCR team. They go out and look for loans with the coronavirus. We run another grant, And so we were able to bring in 2 more people, and all they do is go out and look for grants and put on programs to help your business grow and help your business to find dollars. You know how much that costs? That's free also. So again, some of those benefits of certification. Jesse talked about events. We have our hard hat events, or if you're construction or construction related, and Dallas County is going to be there, along with some other folks that you're going to recognize. But again, we're going to be at Globe Life Field, but we're going to bring the construction industry together. Not only are the subcontractors going to be out there, but the Austins, the Balfours, the Skanskas, the CBREs, the Texas Rangers, and a host of corporations. So again, with the council, we want to connect you. We do another event in Access where we partner with Senator Royce West. We bring 80 state agencies, 80 before COVID, when we had them live, but we had 80 state agencies in Irving, Texas to meet with youth suppliers. You know how much that costs? That was free also. Your tax dollars that was already spent for that. So we brought them down here to meet with you because, again, part of our certification, not only do you get the MBE, SBE, you get the State of Texas Hub. So we want to bring those folks for you to connect with. And again, even when the state agencies come down, just like Mike did today, we have free workshops that teach you how to put bids proposals together, how to find ways to do business with state agencies, federal agencies, the tech stocks, the universities, all those folks. And again, all that is the price of membership. Again, we do a lot. I could spend a lot of time on certification and what you need, but I think it's important for you to know we give out scholarships for Tuck, Northwestern. We are able to introduce you to, like Jesse said, once you're certified, all these companies have a supplier diversity person. So we have access to those folks. So versus you try to go in and figure out how to maneuver Dallas County, who's the right person to talk to, I can introduce you to Lasagna or to Jesse or to Mike, or those folks that can help you by being certified, by being an SBE. Now you have another avenue. Not only do we do this with those folks, we do it with the PepsiCos, the Toyotas, the private sectors, whereas the public sector. So a lot of those things we do, we assist with financing, we help you get in front of banks. So there's a lot of programs. So when you look at being certified, the $270 to be certified with us if you're a new business, if you just attend our 8A certification class, go through that training, that's going to pay yourself back. You get the first contract with Dallas County for anything, I'm sure it's going to be for more than $270, and that way you can go. And again, I apologize for not being there in person. I'm out here in Los Angeles with NFL. I feel like ESPN, Jesse. I'm out here with the folks with Super. With the NFL even has a program that they brought me out here to talk to their business owners how to get certified. So being certified is important. It not only opens up doors locally, it can open up doors nationally because we do a national certification. So wherever you do, we're going to partner and do some other things that you're going to see throughout the city, but we can open up those doors. And I think, but if you want to know more, please go to our website, www.dfwnsdc.com. The information is right there on the slide. Edwin Cruz is my certification manager. If you're not certified, but get the value out of your certification. Every certification is different. Every entity looks for a different certification. So it's important to know your customer, know which certification they need, and then you go out and get the right certification. You know, certification not one the one shoe fits everyone. You know, you have to find the right one to work for you. And sometimes it's not even certification. I mean, you may join a chamber if you have a restaurant and you're just really looking for bodies. You know, the chamber may be able to help you out. So there's a lot of avenues out there. So thank you, thank Mike. You did a great job. Thank you, Jesse. I was just getting ready to grab the plates and pass them around because I don't think there's nothing else there. So thank you guys. All right.
Appreciate you. Thank you. All right. So next, and that was a great job, Andrew. And I don't know who you're cheering for. I know you're a Raider fan, so but you're representing LA, so I imagine he's going for the Rams. But anyway, next up, we're going to have Miss Anita Steele, who is representing the Women's Business Council Southwest. So I'm going to bring her up, and she's here live in the room with us for those of you who are online. Anita?
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's good to be here. I want to thank Commissioner Koch for hosting the event, and Jesse and Lasagna for bringing us all together. A little bit about the Women's Business Council Southwest. We are a regional partner organization of WeBank, that's WBENC, national certification agency. So our certification is nationally recognized, national in scope. Our council represents Central and North Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. And then there are another 13 RPOs throughout the WeBank system. And we have corporate members that are members of our council. We have about 80 corporate members, and then we have national corporate members. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because both the regional and the national corporations, their supplier diversity departments source our databases for contacts to approach about supplier diversity bid opportunities. And we have about 1,200 WBE members in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, about 20,000 nationwide. So you'd be in very good company. Want to point out, it's not all small businesses. Some are entrepreneurs who started their business. They opened their doors or they filed their papers yesterday. And then we have some companies that are really, really large, and everything in between. And our programs reflect the diversity, both size and scale of our membership. We host programs for networking opportunities, WBE to WBE, WBE to corporate. And one thing I like to point out while I'm on that subject is don't overlook opportunities to contract with other WBEs. It's huge. It's a lot of people get certified so that they can do business with a corporation, but WBE to WBE business is just as good an opportunity and a great way to grow your capacity. So I wanted to mention a little bit about the certification process. There's a lot of information on our website, but the first time around, we're going to ask you for a whole lot of documents. Because we want to review those documents and verify that you are 51% or more female owned. You are also female controlled as the 51% or more owner, and that you manage the day-to-day operations. So we're going to ask for a lot of information on your company, on you individually. Then once you submit your application and those documents, the next step is it goes to our certification review committee, and then we will do a site visit with you. All our site visits are being done virtually right now. And then you renew your application or your certification annually. So we provide the WBE certification, and that's designed for contracting with corporations. But we also provide hub certification for contracting with state agencies, the SBE certification for contracting with Dallas County, and we also provide WOSB certification. We're one of 4 agencies nationwide that the SBA recognizes our WOSB, Women-Owned Small Business Certification, for contracting with federal agencies. So we like to say we're a one-stop shop for whether you want to contract with other businesses, other WBEs, corporations, state, county, and national, federal contracts. Like I said, there's a lot of information on our website. You can email me with any questions you might have. I'll be happy to help. We're here to get you through the certification process and to get you certified. And thank you again for having us out today.
And as I shared, I've served on those certification committees. I've conducted site visits, which I miss. Those are the good old days, right? But it was amazing because you got a chance to learn about those businesses and actually go to their sites and see the work in action. See the employees, and see all the growth that they had over the years. I feel proud to mention several that have now grown to the $1 million level. And I remember when they were a team of 1, But at any rate, the next one is our North Central Texas Regional Certification Agency. And this organization is led by Mr. Sherman Powers, who is brand new in his role, similar to me. So Sherman.
Thank you, Jesse,
Well,
for actually embarrassing me. Well, my name is Sherman Powers. I'm the Executive Director of the North Central Texas Regional Certification Agency. I've been in the role for about 2 months now, but it feels like about 6 years because we hit the ground running real fast here. If you go to the next slide, I'll get started with the presentation that I prepared for you guys today. That's just our location, and of course, we were off of Six Flags Drive. We just relocated probably 4 months ago, into this new location in Arlington, which is literally just a block over from the previous location. Next slide. All right, these are the types of certifications that we offer. ACDBE, which is the Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise certifications, and those are for the businesses. One of the member entities that we have is DFW Airport. So these certifications for like the pizza stand or the construction company that's partnering with the airport. And these particular certifications, since the ACDBE and the DBE certifications are federally regulated certifications or programs, they're free. Once again, free 99. There's no charge for an ACDBE, and a DBE is for disadvantaged business enterprises, and those are small businesses, and I guess that come from low socioeconomic environments where there's not really much opportunity there. So we have those particular certifications to help those people get a hand up instead of a handout. And so and those two, like I said, the ACDB and the DBE, they both are federally regulated and they're free 99. The next one is the out of jurisdiction, if I can get it out. The next slide, eventually when I get to it, it'll show you the 16 different counties that we operate in. So if you're in New York or LA, where Andrew is, we'll go back to, I'll get to it in a second, go back. But if you're in New York or LA, like where Andrew is, and you want to actually do business here in North Texas, that's out of jurisdiction because we only operate in the 16 counties of North Texas. That's a $250 fee because you're out of jurisdiction. But $250 is a very small investment when you're bidding on contracts that could potentially be multi-million-dollar organization for your multi-millions of dollars for your organization. So, and then the next three that we offer are local programs. That's the MWBE, MWSB, which is minority business entities, women-owned business entities, and small business entities. So those are the local ones, and all three of those are just $100 application fee just to get the certification process started. Next slide. And this is the different counties that we operate in. We're part of Texas United certification program. So we have several, sister or sibling partnerships throughout the state. As you can see, we operated in that orange space right there. I like to call it the certification heartbeat of Texas because it looked like it's right where the heart of Texas would be. But we operate in Collin County, Denton County, Dallas County, Ellis, Erath, and so on and so forth, Jack, Tarrant, so on and so forth. You have the list right there for you, right in front of you, so I'm not going to go through all of them. But those are the 16 counties that we operate here, right here in North Texas. Next slide. And these are the member entities. The reason why I want to present this to you guys is because even though Andrew and Mike and Jesse and the other panelists has already spoken to you about the process of getting a certification, I want to speak to you about the benefit of actually having the certification. Some of the benefits that I know of are simply, these are the member entities that we actually are partnered with. And these are some big municipalities right here in DFW, from the city of Arlington, Cedar Hill, Dallas, DeSoto, Duncanville, Irving, so on and so forth, Dart, Dallas County, Dallas College, Dallas ISD, Fort Worth ISD, so on and so forth. We have North Texas Tollway Association. These are the member entities that we are actually partnered with, and most of them are actually still on the board of NCTRCA. So with that stated, once you get certified through us with any one of those certifications, now you can go onto our website and register into their websites, and potentially you'll be able to attend pre-bid meetings. Like like Mike discussed, or you can go to outreach events like the one we're here now. And the main thing that I like about it the most is you network. And the way I see network is pretty much putting your faith into action. The Bible says faith without works is dead. So this is where you get to put your faith into action and be able to network and partner with those people to potentially grow your business and particularly take your business from a small business to potentially a multi-million-dollar business. So that's the benefit of actually getting certified with the NCTRCA, because we actually, once you partner with us and get certified, now you can partner with the member entities that we have that are partnered with us. Go to the next slide. And this is how you will contact us. Of course, that's the address, or you can go to nctrca.mw.db or nctrca.org. There's a checklist of all of the different documents that we're going to need in order, like Miss Anita spoke about, in order to get you certified. And initially, it's going to be a lot of documents. And the bottleneck or the problem that we have getting people certified is when we suggest 20 documents, whatever the number is for documents, we need those 20 documents, because we have to go through, because of the federally, locally, and state-owned state regulations that we have to follow. We have to actually make sure that we're crossing all T's and dotting all I's and meeting all these regulations. So if you don't submit a completed application, that slows the process down. And now I have to submit a question and answer to you in our CMS, a certification management system. And let's say you only turn in 10 of the documents. And now I have to send this question and answer to you stating, hey, you submitted the 10, I need the remaining 10. You have 30 days to respond. Most people do, some people don't. If they don't, then they're non-compliant, so they're kind of pushed out of the system. But let's say you respond with 5 of the 10 documents. Now we got to go through this process again. Now you got another 30 days. So if you can submit a completed application, I can push the documents through, make sure I'm crossing all T's and dotting all I's, but we can get you certified in a reasonable time versus, this thing drawing out 6 months or whatever it may be. So with all of that stated, I just kind of want to just want to speak to you guys briefly about the benefits of getting certified. I didn't want to belabor the point of actually going through the process of getting certified, because I knew my peers, they would already have done that. So that's all I got. If you need to reach me, my email address is spowers, S-P as in Paul, O-W-E-R-S, spowers@nctrca.org, and the phone number is 817-640-0606. Thank you guys so much.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you to all 3 of our certification partners. As I mentioned, they help us do our job. They give us some peace of mind through their certifications. And I liken it to, I had this conversation with my daughter when she first started driving. She was like, Dad, I have my driver's license. And she was excited. And I said, yeah, that tells me you can operate a motor vehicle. It doesn't tell me how well you drive, and it doesn't tell me how well you maintain that vehicle. Oh, Dad, eyes rolling. I said, I'm just being real with you. And the certification tells us as entities that you have been vetted, you are certified as a woman-owned business, minority, so on and so forth. But it doesn't tell us how well you are. So that's why Mike's presentation was key. You have to present yourself. You have to market yourself. You have to, know your competitive advantage. I know I'm preaching, but I'm telling you guys, that certificate is just the beginning, and it pays for itself. A previous company was a member of an illustrious group called the $1 Billion Roundtable. And all of their spend with minorities, women, veterans, people with disabilities, so on and so forth, it had to be audited annually. And it was tier 1 spend, not subcontract, it was tier 1. I mentioned that because those companies all had to be certified in order to count. So we had peace of mind knowing that it had that stamp from the WBC Southwest for women, or the DFW Council, or the national, whoever it was, NCTRCA, we could take that to the bank. Okay, so I just want to impress upon you, it is definitely worth the investment, and it pays for itself. All right, so now we're coming down the home stretch, guys. Just stick with us a little while longer. We're at the Q&A portion of our event, and yes, we have some that are online.
We do have a question that's come in.
All right.
from online for my frosh. And the question is, my small business subcontracts in addition to doing work myself because I cannot afford benefits for full-time employees. What part of the evaluation is the team makeup? Experience or approach?
Okay, well, that's the team makeup. It's going to be in your experience. Your approach is your methodology to perform the task, right? So your team makeup would be in your experience. Who are you? What have you done? You know, how long have you been in business? How many projects have you worked on? And then who are you from a company standpoint? Who comes with you? So that's very important. That's great. And subcontracting is not a negative thing too. That's one thing I want to make sure we understand. Subcontracting is very important. It's an element we need. But in this example, it would be in the experience side. But I want to mention something that's coming in on the chat as well. And does it cost money to register to do business with Dallas County? That seems to be a recurring theme. I didn't go through the slides, but the deck that will be online on our SBE side and the procurement side will show you and have a link to our BidSync platform. It's free. You know, they have public and private, so they'll try to upsell you because they're in business to get additional business from you. But it's free to do business with Dallas County. You can register. You will see grayed out things if it happens to be a private business, but you'll see all of Dallas counties, and you can submit bids and proposals. So I want to make sure we clarified that. It is free to do business with Dallas County. It's free to look at our bids online. It's on BidSync. There's a couple of platforms out there for public agencies, BidSync, Bonfire, and there's one other, but that's basically the region is using online platforms. And when that question came in, I was thinking back to when I came to Dallas County 3 years ago. I asked the current interim director, what platform are you using to outreach to your vendors? I said, we don't have a platform. So how do you reach out to the people to get competition? They said, we use the paper. I said, what paper? It's a commercial record. I said, never heard of the commercial record. So one of the most important things to me was figuring out how we can be open, fair, and transparent, which is what my bosses are telling me we should be doing. And we know spending millions and millions of dollars, you have to go out and outreach. Didn't do any outreach, or if it is, very limited. So you expect that you have limited competition because the only ones that knew about the competition are the ones that were in the room that were doing the work. So you had a closed loop, so to speak, or intentional or not, I don't know. Maybe that's why I came in. But I want to have competition. I want to make sure that we're open and fair. We want to listen to you. The pre-bids are not just so you show up and talk to your B2B opportunities. You mentioned that's perfect too, but it's to make sure that maybe we got it wrong on specification. Maybe it's something that from your industry expertise, you see that as being something that's limited, that's being restrictive. Maybe we aren't thinking from the groups the way you think we should. All of this input, I look at every question that comes in from every pre-bid before it goes out. So I want to make sure my team is listening to you and that the departments are listening to you because they may not necessarily have the same vision I had to be open and transparent. They want what they want, right? They want it quickly. You know, there's red tape and there's bureaucracy and there's necessary red tape, and we want to make sure that we're listening to you. So make sure you ask questions for either of us.
All right. We have some more questions. Yes, sir. We have one in the room here. Hang on 1 second. Dr. Wood.
This is all brand new to me. I work here at the college and I'm just happy to be here. But as I'm thinking through everything you guys have said, it drove up some questions for me. So in my doctoral program, I'm a philosopher by trade. I taught philosophy. Now I'm an administrator here at the college. And one of the professors at the seminary where I got the PhD took us to the library one day and he said, here's the journals you need to know. Here's the books you need to know. Here's the sections you need to know for philosophy. And then he took us out to lunch and he said, here's the conferences you need to go and present at. You need to publish book reviews. You need to go get adjunct teaching work. Boom. Like in 2 weeks, I'm like, oh, this is how you become a philosophy professor. This makes sense. Nobody ever told me this before. Are there mentors for these sorts of things? Businesses, small businesses, who are maybe not associated with the certification process, or maybe not even with the county, who would go, I would love to take somebody under my wing and walk them through, because knowledge, information, and connections are power.
Yes, definitely, most definitely. And I know we're pressed for time, but I'm going to answer your question. So there are definitely resources out there. Mentorship, there's programs where you have mentor-mentee type relationships. You also have business owners who are members of these organizations that I just shared, and they step up and volunteer their time. I serve on the senior advisory board of the WBC Southwest. And so all of us are, former executives, so on and so forth, and we volunteer our time and we go to events, we support. So yes, there's definitely a network out there to answer your question. Yes, ma'am.
We've got one more
Jesse,
from our
before
online.
you go to the next question, I want to answer that question as well. Whoever that person is that asked that question, if you could point them towards me, give them my information, because the city of Dallas has an incubator program that has the mentors that I'm involved with. I could point them in the right direction if they just get in contact with me.
You got it, Sherman. Thank you.
We've got one more question from our online audience. And they say, thank you for all the information. This is really great. Are there any resources you recommend to learn more about the bonding process?
Wow, that's a layup. So again, I mentioned our partners, okay? Andrew Nash, this is a layup, slam dunk it, you and Sherman. And we're pressed for time, so guys, I know if you can steer them to the resources, because our event is supposed to end at 7:30, and I want to be mindful of everyone in the room, but this is rich, right? Are you guys enjoying this?
Yes.
All right, so Andrew.
Yeah, let them contact me, Jesse. There's a lot of bonding. We have a bonding experience that we do. We're going to have some folks that are going to be out at Hard Hat on March 8th to talk about bonding. So yes, and that's a benefit, and that's part of what we do with our MBDA grant. Talked about all the free things that we do. That's part of it. So we can help you with bonding. We have some bonding professionals and some finance folks that help you.
All right, thank you.
And also, just to add to that, the same thing, we have those particular programs as available as well. We also partners with the Small Business Association, so they can help you get grants and funding and so on and so forth for the organization.
Thank you. You guys are punctual. Okay, so last question here in the room, and we'll adjourn.
Okay, so my question is going to be for the director, Michael, and Jesse as well. So if a company is, okay, so the fact that it does take a little bit to complete the certification process, if a company is self-certified through SAM, does that carry any weight, if anything at all, during the certification process or submitting of bids, when you guys are looking at that? If a company is self-certified through SAM?
I'll let Jesse speak first, and then I'll respond.
All right, so do I need to repeat it for the online folks? Did you guys hear us? So the question
Yeah, we heard.
You heard it?
Yeah, we heard.
Okay, good deal. Okay. So the short answer is that, as I mentioned earlier, in our program, which is SBE based, you have to be certified through those three entities that I shared in order for me to count that spend. Now, that will not prevent you from seeking a contract with Dallas County or even winning. I mean, we have suppliers that are not certified, are in the process of being certified, all that great stuff. So I just want to be clear that in order to count it towards my goals and objectives, you have to have those certifications.
And right, and I would add, we would definitely consider anything. So at the end of the day, we can't count in our bucket, but we want you to tell us about it and tell us you have something pending. That's very important to know that you have. We have an application, an expedite. Jesse's office has an expedite opportunity with the NCTRCA because we're members of that agency. So when we know we have a pending certification and we really are working hard to get this contract through for our board, we can use that expedite where it's necessary. So we want you to compete. You don't have to be certified to do anything with Dallas County. We obviously would like you to subcontract where there's opportunities, where there's meaningful opportunities. If you're a prime, we want to count you. Because a lot of times we do a lot of good work in the organization and we cannot count the folks because they're not certified. Simply not certified.
And Jesse, real quick, if you're certified with someone else, you still have to go through our process. We can't take any reciprocal certifications because other agencies certify folks that we don't. So at least with our organization, you still have to. We apologize for that, but you still have to go through the full certification with us.
Jesse?
And Mike,
Yes, ma'am.
whenever you do expedite, those actually come, I actually process those myself. I take control of them and I get those through the process as soon as I get the expedite. Of course, still dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's, but those I actually process myself.
One of the things that I wanted to add about regarding specifically your question was SAM certification has been around for a very long time, and it had hundreds of thousands of certifications registered through SAM. The SBA recently did away with self-certification as part of that process. You do have to be registered in SAM, but to be certified as OSB, you either have to go through one of the third-party certifiers or directly through the SBA, because SAM certification won't count towards WOSB certification anymore. I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have to wrap. This has been a very meaningful investment of my time. This is what I do for a living, but I love this opportunity because this group right here, you guys, well, we had great weather. Let's give it up for the weather, right?
I sent that to you, Jesse, so you can thank me later.
You sure did, because nobody had to slip a slide to get here, right? But I want to thank you guys on behalf of Dallas County. I know the commissioner is here. Commissioner, do you have any words, closing words? You good? Okay. All right, I'll give the thumbs up. So again, I want to thank each and every one of you, including everyone online with us tonight. Thank you to the speakers and presenters. But more importantly, I hope this information was very influential, but more importantly, actionable and impactful. Those are the key words for me: actionable and impactful, right? So I know we look for your feedback, so give it to us, whether it's online, our resources. And with that, I'm going to close it and give you your evening back to you. So be safe going home, and God bless you.
Cell phone check.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm
Me too.
Nice to meet you. Yes. With I work closely with Jesse.
Find it.
Coordinating